Awesome. Okay. Whew. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 90 of the podcast. Today, we had my dad on. It was a dad cast. We talk a bit about everything today, about history, a lot, cataclysms, all sorts of crazy shit. But it's a fun episode, and me and my dad always have really cool conversations. So if you're into the dad cast, we haven't done one in probably almost a year. So hope you folks that really love these episodes really enjoy this one, episode 90. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and everything we got going at bmsglass.com. Juggernaut giveaway, everything we're doing. Appreciate you folks. Have a great day and enjoy this episode with my pops. Yeah, well, that's why I really think a lot more. I think this continent isn't as new as people make it out to be.
Oh no, I just think this continent got blasted.
Oh yeah, it's gotten nuked.
You know,
a few
that
times.
ash layer is a kind of weird thing to try to figure out. Going, oh geez, that coincides with when the Clovis culture.
And the fact that the only old growth forests are at the tips of either coast of the country. Everything in the middle has been flattened and is only evergreen. Evergreens are the first tree that come up after cataclysm and disaster. Nothing else can grow. Everything else is evergreen.
When Europeans got here, you had the great white pines, right? Yeah. And think about if you're going to fertilize something, and you're on the fringe of it, and not all the ash that comes from volcanoes is, glass and that. There is other components to it.
Yeah.
So it's something, out of fire you get life.
Yeah, because the ash layer doesn't. I don't think they're necessarily saying it's just from volcanoes. They're saying that there's mass forest fires on this continent. Mass
forest fires caused by a comet, either airburst over the ice sheet.
Yep. Either airburst over
that
or
led
or
to
actual.
It melted.
Yeah, and then created a lake behind the ice wall.
And thus,
then the ice wall
the
broke.
English Channel.
Yeah.
The Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon is also part of the drainage area.
Yeah, when we went down to the Great Dunes.
Yeah,
right?
I always tell people down the Great Dunes National Park. That's literally left over from this cataclysmic flood that happened.
All you have to do is, it's like Scablands. They came over and they photographed it and looked at it instead of looking at it as, wow, this is a massive area. Take your perspective and go, okay, I'm going to look at this like a stream.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realize when I was a kid, I used to make, the sand and watch the water go through. It all looks like that.
The main guy I've ever heard make that argument is Randall Carlson. And he was just on Rogan again recently. He hadn't been on in years. And Randall Carlson is one of my favorite people to listen to because he has a really cool way of explaining geography and what has happened on this planet over the last 10 to 25,000 years as far as how much the landscape's changed and
it's easy
climate
to do,
and everything.
Though. It's easy.
But it's really interesting because you can side by side you can track what was going on with humans to what was going on with our planet. We move as our planet moves. As certain areas get flooded out or huge cataclysms happen or things get shifted, full cultures shift and move to different parts of the world. That's what we've talked about before. The people of South America, their original homeland was probably Utah, Colorado.
Here.
This was their original homeland in about, 10,000 years ago.
Oh, more than that, I think.
11,000 years ago.
I always 15,000 years ago seems to stick in my mind. So it gives 13,000
specifically,
BC.
It's 9,600 BC would be 11,600 years ago. So about 12,000 years ago, something happened and pushed a lot of people off this continent, wiped out all the megafauna.
You have people that want to disclaim that, but there's a thing called geology.
Oh, you can
see it. And no matter what your belief or ideas are, it's like, someone gets shot. Well, that was a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
No, man. No. We got the gun, and there's the hole in the person.
Yeah. We have the bullet.
No, that's not what you're saying.
But that's the interesting thing about geology and things like that, especially we've talked about this before a million times because we love talking about this kind of shit together. But all the way back to Dr. Robert Schoch with the Sphinx, him saying that, hey, the water erosion on the enclosure is at least 9,000 years old, at least.
And
because of it's all you can see the evidence of water erosion. This is water erosion.
And you can see how it was encapsulated
yeah.
by whoever was the
It's been
Egyptians.
buried so many times.
Yeah.
Like the pharaoh that they give credit to building it was actually, I believe, the pharaoh that just he dug it up. He was told to like uncover the Sphinx.
And the big thing about
That's
the
why the head
water
is so long,
erosion
too.
is that 6,000 BC, 7,000 BC, the Sahara wasn't a desert. It was this big, plush, green savanna with the largest freshwater lake in the world.
Yeah. The largest freshwater lake in the world used to be in the Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
The Sahara, and like it's crazy that you can fit the United States within the Sahara Desert.
6 times.
6 times.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's how big it is. That's why I'm like, I really think like we're impressed by the pyramids of Giza and the Giza Plateau. I think you're just looking at a northern part of a larger kingdom. And I think that if they actually went through the sands of the Sahara Desert, they'd find pyramids, so many that were that size and that quality. They would find the old kingdom, the time of Zep Tepi, like the first part of Egypt.
What they've done is,
so
that LiDAR they use, and you can see how the water used to flow, the amount of rivers.
Everywhere, over the Atlas Mountains, all the way down through it, connecting to the Nile, it used to be a really lush area.
Well, they show the waterfalls in the Atlas Mountains, and if you go to Venezuela and those huge plateaus.
Yeah, those things are incredible. I always love those. I'm like, is there dinosaurs up there and shit?
Well, that was, because
they're like
there
lost
was
worlds.
A story, was Arthur Conan Doyle that wrote Land of
the Lost or something?
Yeah, something like that. But that's what he was... that's where those extinct species will be.
Yeah, they're trapped on these, plateaus.
What they did find, though, is that species evolved.
Differently.
They were there, they're up there, and they had to exist. It's just like going to the Galapagos.
I don't know, man. Always as a kid, I always used to be fascinated with Egypt and stuff, but I always be like, why do they build in the middle of the desert? But then you got to realize when the pyramids were built, that wasn't a desert. That was like a lush, green place. Just the world has changed so much over the last 10,000 years. It's crazy.
Humans have amnesia. They can only... This sounds very arrogant, but it's what's going to happen in the next 48 hours. And anything that clutters that, they have a hard time. I mean, everybody's guilty of it. No, I can't be involved in that.
Like evolutionary biologists talk about it basically like if humans were fully rational and all these things, like we probably would physically decide to not have children anymore because how painful it is. We actually have something in our brain that we kind of forget, like women are able to forget specifically how bad it was, and they're able to go, let's have another one.
Oh, yeah.
But if we actually had rational thinking, we would go, I almost fucking died. That shit was brutal on my body. Like, so, like, we have tools in our brain that basically help trick us to keep us moving forward because we live in a brutal place. I wonder if people, though, back during the time of Egypt, found a way to use that or manipulate or harness that type of, like, manipulation to build what they built. Because I guess they would look at our cities, too, and be like, look at these skyscrapers they built. But they wouldn't last that long. Our skyscrapers would be gone in a couple thousand years.
Oh, less than
that. Thousand. I mean,
they are... Once you break a seal on a skyscraper,
it's over.
You saw...
what was that?
One of the History Channel or something did that,
When people are gone or
when
whatever.
When people are gone, yeah. They do... And the biggest thing that would take apart cities is that we've diverted all the water around it, under it, and that.
Well, as soon as
those systems,
once those break down, the water diversion systems break down, then all of a sudden the water's going to come back and just start.
Oh, yeah. And you'll just see everything will just collapse. Yeah. Plus, the length of buildings.
That's why when people argue about, like, Pre-Göbekli Tepe, which is, that place in Turkey that they say is at least 12,000 years old.
They found so much more.
I know, they're finding stuff that's 15,000 years old. It's old as shit.
It's amazing.
But, before that, like, a lot of these, like, Egyptologists and people that, like, studied the pyramids, they were using their timelines based on the fact that there was no other civilizations they found that were that advanced any earlier. So, like, it has to be from 4,500 years ago or so. So, but then once, that was their argument, but once Göbekli Tepe came out, like, hey, these people can do some pretty incredible stuff too, and this was 6,000 years at least before the pyramids were built. Even though I think the pyramids are personally from 12,000 years ago. I think the pyramids are old as shit. I think they've been around forever. I think they've been a monument that humans have walked by for millennia.
They look like from what they were described, that the whole encasement of it was all this white limestone, but every stone was written on.
Carved, yeah. I told you about that.
Yeah. Thank you, son.
Yeah, but no, I think that shit's super interesting, though, because there was a written history on the outside of those pyramids. Like, maybe they weren't like some big monument. Maybe they had a physical use, but at the end of the day, like, they did have some sort of description of maybe what they were for, and it was on the outside. I don't think it was a secret. I think it was public knowledge. Like, these were monuments with all the information on the outside, like giant libraries, giant books.
Remember, I was talking to you before, there's... When somebody thinks of pyramids, they immediately go to Egypt.
Yeah.
Then they'll go to Central America.
Yeah.
And, they had this idea put forth that they were a generator of power of some sort, electricity.
Yeah.
And you had Tesla with his idea of tapping into static electricity. Yeah. And in Hungary, there's this big debate. Well, that's a natural formation that looks like a pyramid.
The Bolivian pyramids.
Yeah. I mean... just because it's not all man-made, maybe the important part was the height, the location on the planet.
And that was actually Tesla's thing, why he came. I mean, we've talked about this a million times, but height, like, I don't know about height, but altitude might have actually something to do with it, and why Colorado Springs has more static electricity, not just because of the quartz content, not just because of the electromagnetic ley lines that are crossing here.
You're sticking up in the atmosphere, static electricity, if you have two surfaces rubbing together. Oh, they're
getting closer to the two. Yeah, okay.
They're rubbing together. People don't get the air is actually.
But at the end of the day, like, I do think the pyramids had something physical they were doing. I don't think they were mausoleums or tombs or anything like that. I think that they had to have been something physical. And like, I forget the guy who made this analogy, but he basically was like, hey, like, we build in 2,000 years, if they find the Hoover Dam or pieces of it or parts of it, are they going to think we built that to have someone sleep or, be buried in? No, we built that for a physical return. They built these huge objects. Even if they were getting only a spiritual physical return, maybe it wasn't anything like physical, like magic. I'm not saying magic, but
they were repurposing. Humans do that.
I just think that we're really arrogant to assume we understood what they were doing.
Well, that archaeology only really started. Pompeii was really the start of it, and that was in Italy at the time. You had all the little principalities, so it wasn't true archaeology. They were just ripping stuff out of the ground. Yeah. So there's no context of where it came from, who it was related to.
Not recording anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a real mess.
Yeah.
I was always fascinated by Pompeii as a little kid. That was one of the things that I was like so obsessed with. There was a book I remember when I was like going to. This was actually before I went to Catholic school. This was even earlier. And I just remember it was in the public school, and it was like all about Pompeii. And I was like, this is so interesting, because I think I was always fascinated with, like, not really Roman, actually more like Greek. I was more fascinated by their time, like, because it was like, who influenced them? But then you realize that their influence was the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were influenced by an earlier culture.
The Greeks. You got to understand, there were these big seafaring people. You had the Phoenicians.
But their influences were from the Egyptians, right? Weren't they just farming people till the Egyptians? They literally were.
Everybody was in awe of the Egyptians, and you think they should be, because all the technology that was left in Africa was forced to the rivers.
Here's what's really interesting, though: the time when everyone was in awe of the Egyptians was literally over 1,000 years after the pyramids were built. So they weren't talking in the time of. No one talks about in the time of the pyramids' construction.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the peak of their society? Yeah. Not 1,000 years after these monuments have been built?
Think of 1,000 years for America. Oh, geez, we've only been here about 400. Okay.
Yeah, and we've had.
We'll get back to you in 600 years.
Exactly. So, but that's my point. Is like hear these stories from like Plato and Plato's ancestors that traveled to Egypt, that went there to learn from the priests of Egypt.
They went to their libraries.
Literally, the stories of Atlantis come from the priests of Egypt telling the Greeks about Atlantis. Like, it was actually in a specific temple. It was Temple of the Moon, the lunar temple or something like that. Now that's underwater, it's submerged. You can't get to it or some shit. But either way, what's really interesting is these people were so influenced by this specific city and culture, yet it wasn't the peak of their society, I don't believe. I think they were looking at people that moved in to Egypt. I think the peoples of the Mediterranean literally just saw this area and they built around it.
Well, what was left? It was along the areas of water. You sat there, and in their common memory, it's okay. The pyramids, they go 3,300 BC. Okay, so 2,000 years before that, or say even 3,000 years before that, they knew that the Sahara was a green, lush area.
And then 6,000 years before that, Göbekli Tepe was crushing.
Yeah, but that memory would be faded.
Because it's so long ago.
Yeah, because, again, the priests would have known. It'd be part of their mythology.
Okay,
exactly. And, Kush. The kings of Kush. Yeah, and they're going, oh, it's here, but we're not really quite
they don't know
sure.
They don't know where that's another... Or like what's the one in the Himalayas? What's it's called? Like it's like that ancient. It's like some city that's like.
Oh, Shangri-La.
Shangri-La, yeah. Shangri-La. Like there's all these like cultures and cities.
See, now there's a whole nother group of people.
We've never talked about Shangri-La, I don't think.
Yeah, or Shangri-La, or the Tibetans were. They were a very different people spiritually. There's a great book that's written by a man named Tuesday Lapse Mrapa. It's called The Third Eye. And it's like a autobiography. As a young man, he's over in that part of the world, and it's before World War II.
Okay.
So Tibet was its own entity. And he meets the Dalai Lama, and he writes about everything he's going through with him, his interaction with him, and him come from the Western world.
He's like interpreting these things he's hearing.
Yeah,
like he's really,
and it's a really interesting.
The Third Eye? That sounds cool.
Tuesday,
I bet they got an audiobook on it.
It's an easy read because what he's writing about, it's almost,
I love shit like that, but I think that like the reason a lot of things like that aren't the focus anymore in culture that maybe they were 2,000 years ago, people were mainly focused on that kind of stuff, is because in the current culture, the main thing people are fighting with and dealing with is capitalism, lack of money, trying to have money, and like that type of thinking has nothing to do with money. That actually releases you from capital. That releases you from that mind state. Like, so it's like we don't focus on it anymore. I feel like it's a lost technology.
Well, again, we've had a change in the way humans communicate with one another. Well, at least in the Western cultures, and
I agree, because everything's through text message or emails now. So there's
no nuance.
You don't know if you can't interpret. It's hard. Like, if you're having a bad day, you're going to think everyone's irritated with you. You know what I mean? If you're having a good day, you're going to misinterpret that too.
Yeah. I talk with my hands and all that. This whole thing to get a thought across in 4 or 5 words. I mean, if you're on a battlefield, I guess, the less talking, the better. Yeah. But I mean,
but if you're trying to convey a thought, like, I think you need to hear people talk about the same subject a lot. I don't think a rehearsed points on paper is even a good representation. I think you need to hear people talk constantly about something and hear them like think about it in the moment, like constantly change.
Nana said to me, we used to have those conversations for hours with my mother, and she could say, to get a true idea what's going on around you, get 10 different sources. And of course, this was the age of newspapers, not talking heads and that. Yeah. So you could, and newspapers were everywhere, all different points of view in that. And you knew which group owned what group of newspapers. So you could get an idea. Plus, you could trust what you were getting. And what you will see
there was no money to be made in putting out fake news back then. You had to. I feel
William Randolph Hearst.
Well, true. I guess
that was the Spanish-American War. He kind of started the whole thing.
Propaganda started in the 1800s. Actually, propaganda started way before that. Humans have been, as soon as they could write, they wrote a lie. You know what I mean?
They wrote a lie.
As soon as they could write on paper, they wrote a lie.
Okay, what is, in Genesis in the Bible, that's what it is. Cain and Abel, okay, everything's going real great. I'm going to kill you.
Isn't it crazy?
Wait a minute. Things are all cool.
That even like those Cain and Abel stories, those are 4,000. These are 4,000 year old stories.
Well,
but
it's
like,
about, what's it?
Fable?
5,300 years ago. So
yeah.
it's the same time as Egypt was doing its thing.
Same time as everybody was popping off. But
Yeah.
Egypt, that shit was already old when everybody was popping off. That's why it's crazy to me. Like, it has been old. I've said this before, but one of the coolest things I've ever heard about Egypt is, hey, Luna, one second, the puppies are guarding us. They're protecting us right
Bane,
now.
come on.
Such a good dog.
Right. You got that snowflake.
Growing up, we learned about people like Cleopatra. You know what I mean? We didn't learn about like Akhenaten and all these different specific pharaohs that were really interesting. We learned about the celebrities. Like, because Cleopatra was a celebrity.
Elizabeth Taylor was
Cleopatra. But what was interesting about
man.
Cleopatra being like a female pharaoh was that her being born, her birth was closer to the invention of the iPhone than the pyramids being built.
Oh, yeah.
The pyramids were, almost 3,000 years old, over 3,000 years old. The pyramids were over 3,000 years old when she was born. So she's closer to the invention of the iPhone. She was a pharaoh of Egypt, Cleopatra.
But that's what I mean. You have people throw 600
people don't realize
years
how
around.
old this shit is.
Well, I know, but you have in academia, they throw 600 years, 1,000 years.
Yeah.
One thing that's great about archaeology in Central America, Mesoamerica, the Mound Builders is just amazing. The whole Mississippian culture, again, a minimized group, but you realize, and they're realizing it now, that they are closer to the Mayans, and your idea about how people moved down.
Yeah, they were pushed south because of climate and stuff.
But why wouldn't they be pushed east too?
I think you see remnants. That's where they call them the Clovis people and stuff like that, and they're calling anything that's pre.
Well, you know why you already know why that is.
That's just because of
Clovis, New Mexico.
Clovis, New Mexico, where they found the first bones over that early, and like anything.
It's an arrow or spearhead.
And they call them Pre-Diluvian Civilizations, right? Because they're pre of like this, like what was Diluvian? Is that like the
flood?
The flood, yeah. Okay, so Pre-Diluvian would be a pre-flood civilization. So scientists and academia agree there was a great flood. And
but it's amazing how they want to. You get all this.
Specifically, the Native American history. Like, I grew up, my school was 40% Onondaga. Like, we were
Iroquois. They're the fire keepers.
I don't know. Most of the people I went to school with were Turtle Clan. They were turtling out.
Eel too,
yeah. But either way, a lot of their stories, even the people of the Northeast have stories of a flood, but a lot of the people of the Midwest and the West Coast, like the early people of America, they have stories of some giant flood, basically like
Scablands.
Yeah, those are so interesting up in Washington State, right?
Yeah, they're in
because
the
of the
part.
way the geography is, the way the land eroded, because of how that's where one of the heaviest flows was, the most powerful points. It just
I think
it just drilled through the land.
Yeah, it was about 60 miles wide and went 200 miles to the ocean. You think you have an ice dam that's like a mile,
they said
a mile and a quarter
They said
high.
It was 1,000-foot wave that went across the United States.
But that's...
Can you imagine 1,000-foot wave going across the middle of the country, across Nebraska, over New Mexico, down through...
Again, all these things...
1,000-foot wave of water.
All these scientists we're talking about, they are just... This is all new stuff, especially with computers.
That's why they're going to have to change this whole... They're saying the people, the early peoples of America, the Native American people, hunted the animals to extinction is crazy.
Oh, it is.
The Native American people took care of what they were
living
on.
They took care of their areas.
Yeah.
California.
So it wasn't a hunting thing.
California, they would come into that area.
A huge wave killed all the animals.
Yeah. They came in when
that's why they find
the indigenous people,
hundreds of animals.
Where
they wash.
Not this. They would have, what did they call it? A certain type of pet where they herd them all in and right over a cliff.
Yeah,
boom.
Well, that was not as common as they make it sound out.
Oh, I know. And that was in the plains.
Yeah, that was in the plains. What I'm talking about is places in the Scablands, or they're finding these pits of 100 plus giant animals. They're just because that's where if a bunch of animals get caught in the water and then eventually they settle wherever the water starts draining out.
How they're finding
there's
those
gonna be a big pile of fucking animals
is there looking at this whole area, they got wiped out, and instead of looking at it going, wow, isn't it grand? Take your perspective and go, man, that looks like a stream. Yeah. Like when I was a little kid, I made a dam with water.
Everyone needs to watch,
break it down.
Everyone needs to check out Randall Carlson on YouTube, because he's this older gentleman that is really, I feel like, one of the main people that focuses on all this type of stuff that has to do with the geography and these cataclysmic floods that happened about 11,900, 12,000 years ago. And
it would be great if all the knowledge that we've acquired on all these sciences and go, okay, this happened.
Think about this, though. These major floods are happening. These comets are hitting the planet, and Göbekli Tepe had already buried everything. Mm-hmm. That's what's interesting. Physically. So the people of Göbekli Tepe physically took this giant fucking city. It's not even a town. It's huge.
It's huge. A ceremonial site.
It's this massive like city town monument thing, and it's like 12 to 15,000 years old. But the people buried it between 13 to 14,000 years ago. They buried their own shit. They were like, some shit's coming soon. We better bury this. Like, I feel like they knew something was coming, so they're going to bury our shit.
Here's a very interesting thing. If there was that air burst over the Arctic that melted the cap enough to have the floods, that's how the English Channel was made, the Scablands, and you have a populace that watches how the seasons come and go. Yeah. So you have guys that are looking at the sky all the time, know when you got to plant, all that stuff. Hey, look at that in the sky. That's not normal. It's getting bigger and bigger, and your priest or whatever your religion is, you're going, oh, that's not good.
They also talk about it may not have been a comet, could have been a coronal mass ejection, but they are finding tons of these comet sites now. They're actually finding impact sites now. They're finding a lot more evidence every day, because all they were waiting on is honestly for computers to process all the LiDAR information and satellite information they had. Like, we've scanned everything, but it's going to take 2 years to fucking process everything.
Part, I think, of the program they have on that
So I think it was meteors. I don't think it was a coronal mass ejection. Robert Schoch says that he thinks it was like the sun putting off a burst that hits the planet, and it happens about every 300.
That's been put forward before, but that you would be able to detect that. I think.
Actually, I'm no expert. That happens. It happens about every 300
but I would think on that scale to cause that kind of fire, there would have to be some sort of radiation. Signature at that point.
I agree.
I mean, for something that
there would
dramatic,
have to be something to combust everything.
You would put that much radiation that through.
Oh, here's what it was. I remember now. What happened was, because it was such a large coronal mass ejection, when it hit the Earth, it caused these like lightning rain, where the whole planet was like covered in lightning, and it was just like melting everything, burning the forest up. Everything was just nuked from like, it was like a lightning.
That's pretty extreme.
Rain. Yeah, but it's like a thing that can happen. They've done simulations of it and shit, and like, because it's obviously.
So how long does it last? Did it just hit North America type thing, or?
It was like a global thing, like.
And because the angle of the Earth, the ice sheet must have.
There's also, I don't know if he talks about in this or a separate newer thing I watched, but there's also like. Have you ever seen the giant pieces of glass in Egypt that they have on the floors? They're like 2 foot thick and 9 feet long. These huge. Yeah. They're like, how did they forge these giant pieces of glass?
Egyptian glass.
This might not have been forged. This might have been result of some area that may have been hit by high amounts of light. This special type of lightning that literally liquefied sand or something, made huge areas of glass.
Stone. I remember
and they knew how to cut stone, and they found a glass core, and they're like, we're going to cut giant glass blocks. So I don't think they had a glass forge. They did have glass forges, but they weren't big enough to make the blocks.
It's the type of glass,
and it's what these blocks look like and how like solid they are. And like, we today are like, how would they even like, what type of furnace, like what type of heat would it take to make something this big? It's like 2 foot thick, 9 foot long, like 6 foot wide, and a bunch.
Well, you take a 440 line and throw it in the snow. Remember what happened to Ben's house?
Yeah, but my point is like, lightning. Who knows? Like maybe like they found an area that they
could. I think there'd be so much damage, though. I mean,
I think there was, but I think that that's what
I guess because they're saying we're in the greatest mass extinction since the dinosaurs, and we had all the megafauna.
All I heard was greatest ever. I'm fucking stoked, dude. We're killing it.
Well, you know how evolution is. When one animal dies out in an area, another one moves in. Well, humans, we were kept in check you know,
I think
up until about 150, 200 years ago. Man, we went from like in 1800, I think there was 1 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
Now we're near 7. That's in 200 years.
So there's been a mass extinction, but also a mass bloom of another species.
Of all kinds.
Yeah.
Mammals.
So are we an invasive species then? Are we like
we're the worker base.
Are we a cane toad?
All we got to do is we don't want to look at the history, that amnesia. We're just a worker base.
Yeah.
Yeah. We always talk about the giants and all that.
Yeah.
And we don't know it. I mean, our history was fairy tales. And that they put together, not fairy tales, myths.
Yeah, myths, but like
cultural.
All myths have like some little bit of truth in them, you know.
Yeah,
but remember, like giants back in the day could have been a dude that was like 6'2".
Oh yeah.
You know, that's the thing we gotta remember is like stories like that you even see like the David and Goliath shit. Like that like Goliath guy was only literally he was like I think he was like 6 foot or 6'2". He was like an average person nowadays. But like back then people were smaller. So like a guy that was
stories they write about the Romans coming up and meeting the Germanic tribes.
Yeah.
And just how nuts and how big they were.
Yeah.
These just big, huge berserkers.
Yeah.
I always go to
look at
heritage
look at carnivorous animals that live in cold places. Like wolves that live in really cold places are bigger.
Oh yeah.
Like animals that live in hard ass places are bigger. So that's why I think the people up there, they were bigger. They were fucking living in a hard ass place. Like
we were just a worker bees left over from.
For sure, dude. So you're into that like Anunnaki shit?
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nah, man. That shit's silly.
That's it.
That shit's silly.
That's we should all be.
I don't trust anything humans
Zoroastrianism.
No,
far out. That's a great name for a religion, though. Zoroastrianism. I mean, really. I mean,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's whatever floats your boat is great.
Yeah, man, but it's just it's crazy though. I think that a lot of people like just live their lives based on fragmented stories that we're all like basing our lives off the same stories.
Gives you comfort, and again, it's people put that down in that. Hey, whatever gets you through.
Yeah.
I mean, if that gives you comfort, that's a great thing.
Oh, back to Randall Carlson and Egypt stuff and Eye of Africa and all that. I thought it was interesting, like hearing his perspective on the Eye of Africa and Mauritania there, how he doesn't think that was where Atlantis was. And I never thought like that's exactly where it was, but I loved new theories.
I think Atlantis was an idea. It was an idea before the Great Flood. It would be, you're trying. It'd be like Olympus. That's a good analogy. That's where the gods were. Oh, that's the way it was.
Yeah, because we misinterpret all sorts of shit.
Oh, God, yes.
People don't even know. Half the people that like follow me don't even know what RBR means. I mean, and like that's like my thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, who are we to like say exactly what they called anything? Like Atlantis could have just been a term they used to describe a way of thinking, and then we were like, oh, like
Zoroastrianism.
Like nowadays we have democracy and shit, and we're like, and then like maybe 3,000, 4,000 years from now, if we're gone, people will be like, oh, the city of democracy, where they did all these things, and the people there were really smart, but then someone was mad at someone, got their feelings hurt, and then they just killed each other. But the city of democracy was amazing.
They blew each other up.
Yeah.
We are going to go down the path of the origin story in Star Trek.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
That's what we're doing.
Aren't you destined to follow whatever stories you have to work with? So if, like, you have enough people watching fucking Star Trek and they're the only ones that actually are going to school and, like, learning things, and if that's, like, the foundation of how they're basing on life works, then we're going to follow the path of Star Trek, which I'm down with. I love Star Trek, except for season 3 of Discovery. They fucking blew it.
Oh, I know. Either way, I was watching.
Either way, I love Star Trek. It's fun. I was never a Star Trek fan as a kid.
Communicators, when you sell them.
I was never a fan of Star Trek as a kid. I was definitely a Star Wars person as a kid, and then because I'd watch Star Trek, I'd be like, this is boring. But as an adult, I love the idea of like going to different planets and just to do research and seeing how other creatures are living. And I'm like, if I could,
the main directive.
That would probably or like an archaeologist would be like a dream job.
That's what I wanted to do, but unfortunately, it's something where you can't. For me, I wouldn't be able to have a wife, children, anything else because there's not real big money in archaeology.
He doesn't know. Let me tell him right now. That's how you do it. You work wicked hard, you get rich, and then you just invest in archaeological sites.
So you're going to take your dynamic of today and put it back. 50 years.
You just make enough money and you invest in the archaeological sites. You get your dope ass like shirt and your hat, and you don't really have to do much but just hang out there and enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Pretend you're in the Mummy. I'll be Brendan Fraser. It'll be fun as shit. But either it's my dream. And like some people are like, Evan, why do you work so hard? I was like, I'm going to have an archaeological site.
Evan School of Archaeology.
It's gonna fucking happen. I'm gonna have a dope ass shirt.
Gonna go to all the dumps that have been buried
find
in the
the
United
Stargate
States and dig them up.
I'm gonna find a Stargate. I won't use it because honestly I don't even like going in the ocean. So, but I'll find the Stargate and then I'll send someone through.
Mom,
and we'll just send Terps. No, we'll just send Hash through the Stargate.
Mom and all those girls going out kayaking all the time, right? I have to remind them all the time. This isn't the Great Lakes.
You have to be careful. It's fucking ocean. There's alligators. There's all sorts of shit.
Well, it's not alligators, but you have bull sharks. I told you about up by Cedar Key. Oh, the snakes.
Spiders.
Yeah, but let's just stick with the fish.
Okay.
There's,
But wait.
Then you go with the reptiles, and there's a bunch of them.
Wait, you know how like there was that period in China where they just sailed around the ocean and gave everyone gifts?
Yeah.
There was that time because there's like even stories from like Native Americans like on the
when they were
western coast.
expanding, that ended like in like maybe 50
like
or
indigenous people from the west coast of our country have stories though of these like golden sailed like these like I don't know what they didn't call them boats, giant canoes or something.
That would relate to them.
But they were actually the Chinese were sailing around the world just giving people gifts. I just had like this thought: if we do find the Stargate, we can just literally put Hash through it, and we'll be like the Chinese people sailing around the world, but we'll be like sending gifts through the Stargate around the universe. We'll just send Terps, boba tea.
I really don't. That's just
don't need a torch, right?
Yeah, no, that's for this existence. We just happen, like we said, we're just riding the wave through this.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just trying how I can contribute. I'm just trying to do my best.
That's how you're going to contribute.
I could turn off the lights at night and use less energy, but I could find a Stargate and send Hash to other people's around or aliens around the universe. Okay. So we all have a goal.
So there's only two choices.
Yes.
Okay.
There's just just take care of my home life and try to do good here, or the farthest reaches.
Well, that's what you have to do.
Of giving.
Well, if you're going to be an archaeologist, in all seriousness,
I gotta get a little older, in which it gives me time to save and make money.
When you get older, you make the money. You go around and you give lectures in that. When you're archaeologist.
What are you doing?
Me? I was an archaeologist.
Jeez. No, I think my plan is going to work. Because
if you say so, I think have faith.
Brendan Fraser was probably in his mid-30s. If I save my money and work hard enough, I could, probably stumble upon a mummy or something.
If you went to South America.
I would do South America if they had a bubble that was, not super humid. I could be inside as I floated through the jungle. Like some sort of I want to be there, but I don't want to be there.
Spock's levitation boots.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
With an environmental suit, that's cool. I can work with that.
No, but I think, I don't know, I'm fascinated by like what happened before. I think like people talk about like, oh, if like you could have one question answered or whatever, like some people are like, what's the meaning of life? And I'm like, that's like such a boring question. That's like the meaning of life is whatever you want to make it. It's up to you. You decide your meaning of life. But what I think would be interesting is what the fuck happened on this planet before we were here? Because I think that we're walking
nothing. It was just waiting for humans.
No, that's the egotistical ideal of like modern people that we think that we were the only ones to do it. I mean, I think some cool shit happened on this planet.
Oh yeah.
Like over the last like 300,000 years, because now they keep pushing back how old modern humans are. So now I'm like, okay, so are you telling me that more than likely modern humans, us, Homo sapiens, we actually probably wiped out Denisovans, Neanderthals?
There's certain species of primates. Gigantus Pithecus.
Yeah, Gigantopithecus.
Yes,
Bigfoot.
But was
back then,
100,000 years ago. Oh well, hey, excuse me, we just pushed it back 200,000 years.
Yeah, exactly. That actual primate probably could have been in North America 12,000 years ago before the flood happened. There was a lot of big things that got fucked up from that shit happening.
Yeah. Again, the idea of a global fire of some sort.
I think a lot happened at once, dude. I think it was just like everything. It was like, it was just like the worst.
I never thought your idea about taking North America, and it's like got blasted in the center, but on the fringes, it's very green, and that
you can see the old growth is there, but it's like in the middle, it's flat as shit. It's not flat just because it's flat because it's flat. It's like, no, it's flat from something compressing it or something wiping it clean, pushing all the soil down to bedrock.
Think about those deep.
You have a 1,000-foot wave going across something. It's going to push a bunch of the base soil up.
Yeah,
it's going to go down to bedrock, and you're going to have a thin layer of soil. I mean, that's why do you think they're like, I don't know, everywhere from the base of the Rockies, like out east, they can like mine. There's like all sorts of like different quartz and granite.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's I'm not a fucking miner, but there's some shit out there, dude. They're digging it up.
There is. You go up to Nebraska. Nebraska is very interesting.
Oh wow, I've never heard that come out of anyone's mouth.
No, I'm talking about we're talking about geology.
Oh,
or
how
corn.
flat it is?
No, up in the north
corn geology.
Western corner Nebraska's dope. Where all the dunes are in that. It's a pretty bleak area.
The dunes in Colorado are one of the coolest places I've ever been in my life, honestly.
Oh yeah,
it's so interesting, like seeing these snow-covered mountains and then like this giant sand dune, like desert-looking area where you can feel like you're in another country.
I gotta tell you something. If you can go online, bring up pictures of that, looking down on it.
Yeah, you can see where it washed out from.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay.
It's like, okay, a giant flood came through the mountains.
There's all these glaciers on the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah,
they all melted, and they all had to get drain.
Yeah, they all drained somewhere. And there's all the silt.
Wow. And again, the Grand Canyon could have been there.
Oh no, it was there, but this cleaned it out.
Yeah, this was like a huge release of water.
The Grand Canyon's very old. The Grand Canyon was there, but this was like basically if you have gutters that are dirty on your house, and then a big ass storm comes, that's what basically happened. The gutters got washed out when this shit happened.
The Man's School of Geology and Weather Forecasting.
Yeah, we got a fucking school here, dude.
That's right.
We're smoking hash and talking about things with no paperwork or facts in front of us.
Base your travels on us.
Yeah, we're just talking. We're just talking like out of our head. We're not. This is not. Who knows if any of this is factual? Look it up.
Hey,
this is all
in my
CGI.
Bubble. In my bubble, people. It is.
Yeah,
it's all real. Please make it real.
Yeah, I always get bummed out when I try to talk to people about this shit, and then like I told you that one time I tried to talk to my veterinarian because we were just hanging out for a minute, just waiting for Bane to come back. And I tried talking about some crazy shit, and he's like, "Oh, I don't talk about stuff like that. It goes against my faith." And I'm like, "Bro," I was like, "That's scary." I mean, that's scary for you.
I do not want any.
But also, too, how happy that dude is? Because remember, ignorance is bliss. If you don't know anything, you don't know anything. If you don't,
your grandmother, you better learn your whole life until.
Yeah, but if you
watch out.
Here's what I think is going on nowadays. People are learning a lot and don't know what to do with it. Your grandmother probably learned a lot and she knew how to apply herself. She knew how to process it. People nowadays are getting so much information at once. We're so stimulated by cell phones, computers, TV.
Parents,
we don't know what to do with all the information. So we get depressed. We get sad.
My grandparents, my mother's parents, like Daddy Chris and Gray, I got to tell you, amazing people. How they got here,
people were way harder. The farther back you go, the harder they get. And then I think if you go far enough back,
4'4",
they get soft again. Luna, enough, sweetie. My goodness.
I mean, she was this little person, but she could project herself. That was just like everybody turn around and go, "Okay, Lillian, what would you like?"
So you know the saying where people like hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and it repeats the process again.
That's what we're going through now.
Yeah, I'm like we're in the time of like weak men, so like we're heading towards a hard time. I'm like
good men see evil and do nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I'm one of them. I was like, hey, what can you do, man? I'm like over here in my garage just smoking hash. Like I don't know what to do about these politicians.
What you do is the way you live your life, and you're aware, and
I just try to be nice to people around me, and I try to help anyone that I can help. If someone can help, I can help someone.
That's like your mother. You do everything out of love, So I take some time and help somebody. Mom has her thing when somebody passes. She makes them a meal. And everybody's, oh my goodness, oh, that's wonderful. And Mom, it's like, no, I thought that was what you do. It's the way I was brought up. I mean, you just be a neighbor. You're not trying to show off or anything.
Nah.
You bring the food, you drop it off. You don't even have to talk to anybody.
No way, Jose.
That's what you do. Easy things in life. You don't have to put anything on it.
Yeah.
my father, just do it.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. Just do it.
That's what I do nowadays, man. I just do things.
Yeah.
Just fucking get
You're
it
not
done
doing
without
it to
complaining.
get, have a cheerleaders behind you going, hey, oh boy, you're a great guy. No, first of all, I don't want cheerleaders around me cheering.
Yeah.
That would really make me tight.
Man, I really wonder how South America for so long got away back. Like, they built all these incredible monuments and pyramids and cities of millions and tens of millions of people. Like, incredible. Like, we're learning so much more.
Smallpox.
Yeah,
Really do a number on you.
How did they grow to that scale without ever dealing with specific illnesses? Did they have their own illnesses they were dealing with, like you think?
Sure.
But
it's
weird to me to grow to that size and not have everything come through.
They were very clean people.
Yeah.
Bathing, the whole... Again, remember, Europeans, we
human.
were really into things like the Black Death and the plague.
Europeans were nasty.
Yeah. I mean, again, these were our relatives.
They would just dump the piss buckets out the window into the streets.
Yeah, well, all your animals lived downstairs, and then you lived upstairs over the stables. In the wintertime, it was warmer to sleep with your cows or sheep or whatever. And, and again, you're right. There's that's why if you look at old English houses along streets, the second floor was cantilevered out.
Yeah.
So when they threw the chamber pots out through the window,
your shit didn't hit your neighbor as much.
Well, that's why men always walk to the outside so ladies don't get shit on.
Oh, really? So, wait,
yes.
So that's where it comes from. Some men.
That's
so you
where
don't want your girl getting pooed on. That's a nice guy.
Yeah. Well, that's Sir Walter Raleigh with Queen Elizabeth.
Sir Walter was like, the Queen's not getting shit on today, boys. We're moving her to this
he takes
side.
his cloak off. And, there's a puddle. And they always glamorize it in films and stuff.
Okay, yeah, where they put the cloak over the puddle.
A puddle 500 years ago or 600, 400 years
had
ago.
Dragons in it during those times.
No.
You step in the wrong puddle,
what
dragon
was your
came
mode of transportation. And you didn't really have a big DPW group.
So you're saying puddles were full of bacteria because it was shit and piss. And if you
that
stepped
was
in
it,
it,
man.
you could get sick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, dissolve your foot off.
Or dissolve your foot in the shit acid. But people were eating all organic back then. Why weren't they super healthy?
No, they weren't eating all organic.
Oh, no?
Porridge.
But so you're saying they were still getting their cereal from Walmart. They were still eating Lucky Charms, but the porridge was organic.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
So you're talking 400 or 500 years ago, they weren't organic. Explain
the
that.
Black Death was bad. But you had Lucky Charms.
Exactly. I'm just saying, I eat a lot of organic food, but I think it's really funny how...
What is organic? You mean grows out of the ground?
It just means they didn't wash it.
So you're saying you eat fruit that pests and amphibians
and that's fine.
And that's
fine. Oh, dude, have you ever seen the giant Japanese salamander?
Oh, yeah.
They're like 4 or 5 foot long. They're fucking huge.
Oh, I know.
I screen recorded a video one last night because I can't figure out how to save videos off Facebook, but I got a video. I'm going to show Cassie later. Blow her fucking mind. It's like a giant 100-year-old salamander, dude. It's huge.
In the rivers in upstate New York, that was the one thing.
Those would always creep me out.
Those mud puppies? The mud puppies.
Really? That big?
Yeah, they get big.
I saw some pretty big ones. They were like yellow spots and black, and they're about this big.
Yeah,
Man, that was crazy when I was younger. It's so weird, like how I live my life now and how I grew up. I don't know, like.
Well, no, it's Mom and I planned where we were gonna.
I'm just saying, I just grew up catching frogs and fucking building tree forts.
That's what we all did. Yeah. And to have that chance to do it because this is real life.
Oh yeah. Dude.
And wandering
honestly,
in the woods,
I'm in a video game, bro. Like I'm in such a video game. Like basically, like you were watching me play World of Warcraft and gaining weight, and then I found glassblowing and just did that instead. And then I did the same hours.
You did Warhammer when you were a little kid.
But I wasn't as fat though.
Huh?
I wasn't as chunky when I was doing Warhammer.
No, that's because you played lacrosse, you played basketball.
Yeah, I did the sports. I was a goddamn athlete. No, I'm just kidding. I was not.
You're
you're not. Thanks, Dad.
Oh, God. No, you were active. That's all you had to do.
You were just active fat, son.
No, your job was to go to school and write reports or whatever, okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, now you have, let's see. I mean, You have a couple other things that are a little bit more of a priority.
Yeah, I gotta get my fucking RC trucks fixed. They've been broke.
That is very. I was going to bring that up.
They were
That's
broke for
very
like 2
important.
years, dude.
Yeah, you know.
I like always look at them like, man, I just want to crawl up some little rocks.
Well, I know we used to go out and do that, but you know,
now all I do is work. It's gross.
It's been a couple of years, you know. I mean, by next year I'd be gone.
Yeah, well, that's why I keep telling Cassie he better
regret that I would
get
have.
our fucking kitchen done before it expires.
I know everything's based on this, really. Now, really, how well are you? Can you build this?
Can you finish this goddamn job or what?
Really, what's wrong with you? I don't want to hear you complain.
There's probably a lot of people listening to this that are not from New York. So they'll listen to this and be like, this is horrible. Evan's terrible. Like, he's really
Yes, he's a rotten child.
I'm like, no, this is like where we come from. This is love.
I have to live in a trailer in Florida.
Well, be nicer.
Be nicer. I'm sorry, sir.
Be nicer and we'll get it a triple wide.
That's right. That's what I want. Yeah.
But, man.
Oh. I got to tell you, down where we are right now, the amount of manatees, did Mom tell you where, you know, you get all the people and that, and they kind of, you know, animals don't like being screwed with. And if you handle it a certain way, you don't touch them. Just like anything, you just kind of sit there.
You shouldn't even touch people you don't know, man.
Oh, yeah, really, that's a bad thing to do. That would not... People I know, that's not a good thing to do. Let
alone a goddamn animal. Like, you just shouldn't touch anyone.
Well, not. Yeah, really. I had your older brother. I'm carrying him on my back down the center of Syracuse. He's about a year old. And this person comes up, grabs his leg, and does this.
Oh, my God.
I turn around.
What the fuck?
I'm with Uncle John. And he goes, your son is damned. I'm going... he says, you're old.
Why does everyone tell you that about your kids?
I don't know.
Because didn't some lady draw a picture of elephants and tell you I was going to be the Antichrist?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, she was. She was a witch.
She was a witch, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So a witch drew a picture of what and then told you I was the Antichrist?
Well, you know, if you look at elephants, no, you are the Antichrist.
Okay, thank you, Dad.
Okay. But anyway, let's just get that out of the way. I'm sure that's going to go over big.
But yeah, tell me about the drawing again. I forget.
Anyways. It was a person that your mother went to high school with and stuff. Okay. And really into all that.
Like witch stuff?
Dark stuff.
Dark stuff, okay.
You know, nothing positive, very negative.
Yeah, into the dark arts.
Whatever you want to call it. But she drew a painting of 3 elephants.
Okay.
Okay? That signified Wendy, Mom, and her.
Okay. Oh, the 3.
All the elephants' trunks are down.
Yeah.
Which is a really negative sign.
Okay.
And you go to not Egypt, India.
India. Okay.
And you know, if you look at any picture you ever see an elephant, their trunks being up was always a sign of good luck, hope, and that.
Okay.
So,
that's symbology.
Mom got it. There was 2 names, Evan and Grace. If you were a girl, your name would have been Grace.
Okay.
And you know, I was real busy and all that other stuff, so Mom gets stuff. And, you know, now you're born, and I'm catching up, organizing, and I sit there and I look at this and I go, what the shit?
What the fuck is this?
Wait a minute. Hey, Davey, come here. What the hell is this? You know?
Yeah.
Not that, you know.
No hate against people's beliefs.
Yeah, really. But, you know, yeah. And, you know, the signature, you know, has a pentagram in it and all these,
fuck yeah, dude.
You know, pagan symbols. And again, nothing, if you want to be a pagan, far out. That's great. Whatever that a pagan is. I'm very bad on terminology.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to be in a group. I don't quite get
it. So she was just saying which was Grace would have been a good thing and then Evan's a bad thing?
Yes.
Sick, dude.
Well, yeah.
You guys really fucking
how many Graces are there in the world?
Man, dude. I don't know.
We could have called
But Evan
Grace,
means king, right?
Evan, caretaker of the park.
No, that's Parker.
I know.
Guy. It's
I think
my
Evan,
middle name.
If I'm correct, Evan is Welsh for John.
I thought it was Irish for anxiety riddled.
Anxiety what?
Riddled.
Could be.
Could be.
And again, you're
That's
more,
the Irish.
You're more Irish than anything. So
For sure.
I mean, you're
for sure.
Again, I always said we're doomed.
Yeah, you know, and that's what I grew up with. We're doomed. I'm like, sweet. So it's Monday, and I'm 6, and we're doing this.
And we're doomed.
Got my lunchbox. We're doomed. No, he didn't do that as a kid at all. But you were a negative Nancy sometimes.
Oh, I always was.
Me too. I'm cynical. I don't mean to be.
No, I'm so cynical about things that even going to a party that I knew there would just be tension.
Yeah.
And that's why it was never.
That's called social anxiety, though. That's a whole
No, that's why I didn't drink, because my only barrier to not sitting there and opening my mouth, is if I had alcohol in me, that just, loosens your tongue.
I'm going to tell this person something right
now. Yeah, somebody comes up to you and says something just patently stupid. And you're supposed to go, well, that's very interesting. I can't do that. It's very hard for me. Man, Mom is very good at that. She's so diplomatic.
Man, I think of my mom. Sometimes I feel like she's still a little, funny telling people what I do for a living, that I make pipes.
Oh, absolutely.
She's still, a little, ugh.
Not that way at all. Actually, you're wrong now. Now she has acquired a lot of knowledge over the last 2 years, where she realizes, those people aren't important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know me. I mean, people through my life that met me when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. You see them this day, they still think of me as if I'm 15, 16 years old, this crazy, kid running around, being a radical and all the other silly shit.
It's not fair when people are allowed to grow, but you're not allowed to,
Oh, I know. Oh, it happened. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And again, I'm very content with everything that's happened in my life.
I was actually driving in my car the other day, and I was I've been trying to kind of reflect on things more, so I can kind of appreciate where I am at, because time's just going so fast, and I'm I got to start taking time to just really appreciate what's going on, because this might be.
Yeah, you'll be able to do that in about 30 years.
I can start practicing now. I need to practice now, because I'm a slow learner. It takes me a long time to get things dialed in. I've been making the same pipe for 9 years, So and I've been with the same woman for 16 years. So I've been
with the same woman for 45. So what's your point?
I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna be with my girl longer than yours. I'm gonna beat you. People my age.
You are much healthier. I smoked cigarettes. You never did.
Nope. No.
You never
smoke
drank.
A lot of weed and stuff, though.
Yeah. So again, I tried to drink, and I consumed mass quantities of tequila and scotch, but I'm really bad at it. And when you're in your 20s, I can recover, man.
Yeah. You just muscle through.
Yeah. And then I said, gee, do I want to get drunk tonight or tomorrow get up and make money and feel good?
But yeah,
I would just smoke a joint.
I was driving in my car after dropping the kiddo off at school the other day, and I was on my way home, and I was just thinking about, I was man, all these people I'm driving next to, a lot of these people, a lot of military, obviously, so they're going to base, and then there's a lot of people going to work, but it's a lot of people that are all in just this normal American civilization, living and functioning in that civilization, but I function and live within this bubble that's within that whole bigger bubble. I'm in this because I go home I don't know, some people would probably hate this lifestyle, but for me it's
a pioneer lifestyle. To be very honest with you, think about the people that came to this area.
They work 24/7.
Yeah, and they lived in a bubble.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Exactly. And you had interaction of other pioneers going by, or the new.
I just think normal people, or even if other parents at the school knew what I did for a living, or because even Mom, when you guys got here and I took that dab, I took a big dab in front of her, and she was like, "Oh my God, that would last me a month."
That is your mother.
Yeah, but that's a normal person's reaction when they see someone take a big ass dab. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, I'm man, I forget, I have to remember that what I'm doing isn't normal. This is a very...
See, I disagree with you. It is...
That's unlike you. You're very agreeable.
No, it's something that never should have happened.
Yeah.
And what you do should be instead of going, oh, that's for smoking marijuana, saying, going, look at
no, it's for concentrated tobacco, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, what goes into making something. And as an industry, how many people that are very talented, artistic, creative, scientific.
I think that's the aspect of my work that the reason why people support me is not like so much like about like the glass. It is that I'm just like connecting in a different way with the way I post and do Instagram and I do the podcast and stuff, like, because I'm not the best glass blower in the world. These aren't the most technical pieces in the world. These are just like a really highly functional, great daily driver that I love to smoke and I'm trying to offer to other people. So
plus your industry's just starting. Everything's going to be opening up every single year.
I'm in this like new mode where like I want to be the best I can be, but I actually don't want to be the best out of everyone. I want to be the best I can be.
Somebody better.
No,
has
but that's what I mean. I don't want the pressure of me feeling like I want to be the best I can be, but also I don't want to be the best person because the best person is the next person to fall off. That's the scariest person that to be.
Wild
to be
Bill
the best,
Hickok.
Because the best person has to keep going harder and harder to kind of keep people looking at them and whatever. Like if you, I'm just trying to like enjoy what I'm doing.
Business competition is good. Not everybody's going to be the star.
No. I don't want to be the star either, bro. I literally want to make money in the background, but it's so hard. You have to be very public nowadays and like show people who you are because there's a million brands to buy. So like the only thing you can really decide on something is there good customer service and how do I connect with the brand? Most brands are faceless in this community. See, people don't post their faces in the glass.
Well, you have Mom and I in our businesses. Yeah. We belong to Southside Businessmen's Association. Mom at Francis' house, volunteering there for how many years, just getting involved in the community. That was our way of networking or whatever you want to call it, It's like a generation had to take their tools and apply them to how you interact with people, know? And you've had this, there's a lag time.
Hey, that's the big thing with a lot of people nowadays. I see a lot of people in different generations arguing, fighting. I'm like, man, you're seeing two different generations use two different sets of tools to try to communicate, and it's creating conflict. But, man, holy shit, what episode was this even, Ijah? Was this 90? What a way to do episode 90, Dad.
I'm not that old.
Thank you for stepping in. Appreciate you. Yeah, Rare Extracts is supposed to be here today with us, but we had a snowstorm and stuff, and he has a two-wheel drive vehicle that's not made for the snow. But he's going to come on next time, I believe. But I appreciate you folks that watch the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. And, I got this. I didn't talk about it much today. We'll talk about it next episode. But I got this new juggernaut here. This is the giveaway one for the Patreon, which will happen by the time this comes out. But I still want to show you guys real quick. The proportions are super on point with these new ones. And I'm really excited to start like offering these and playing around with them. So appreciate folks. Sign up for that newsletter on bmsglass.com and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.